This is my third video on punctuation. In this video, I will be talking about colons and semicolons. Just to show you the difference between them visually, on the left-hand side I have a colon, so you can see that a colon is 2 dots. And on the right-hand side, I have a semicolon. So as you can see, a semicolon has a dot on the top and then a comma on the bottom, really. So a colon is 2 dots, and then a semicolon is a dot on the top with a comma on the bottom. When I tell you about how to use colons, I will be talking about writing units of time, business letter salutations, making lists, and doing something called offering explanations, or at least that's what I'm calling it. When I share the examples, you will understand what I mean. Just before I continue, this is what you've already learned about. You've already learned about periods, question marks, exclamation marks, quotation marks, apostrophes, and commas. Alright, talking about colons, and the first thing to do with colons is talking about writing units of time. So I just have some examples here. First one, class starts at 9 a.m. and it ends at 9:55 a.m. And on the right-hand side, you see I've written it out in words. I've written the times out in words for anybody that can only read the notes and can't access the video. So 9 a.m., right, it would be written 9 a.m. and 9:55 a.m. would be spoken out 9:55 a.m. Next one, she ran the 10-mile road race in 2 hours, 39 minutes. So that's how you would say this number. You'd say 2 hours, 39 minutes. Right. Next sentence, the fastest runner had a time of 50 minutes, 54 seconds. And the last example with units of time. The boys' qualifying time at the swim meet was 29.45 seconds. So that's how you say this number, right? You can see that there's a point there, a dot there. You'd say 29.45 seconds. So that's how you would say that. All right, next set of examples. You would also use a colon if you're writing a business letter and you have what's called a salutation. Let's say you don't know the person's name, but you need to write a letter to a business for some reason, but you don't know who is going to end up reading the letter. So you could start it off with, to whom it may concern. Right? So you can see here with all these examples, there are colons at the end. So very important to remember that when you write a business letter, you always have a colon at the end of the salutation, and that salutation is a really important part of a business letter. All right, so if we look at the other ones, right, Dear Ms. Capri, that word Ms, you'd use Ms for a female who may or may not be married with a new name. So if you're writing a letter to a woman and you're not sure if she's married and you're not sure if she took her married name or if she kept her maiden name, then you could address her as Ms. Dear Mr. Zappa, Mr. is obvious, that would be any male receiving the letter. Dear Miss Glowry, so you would use Miss for a young unmarried female. And last example, Dear Mrs. Springer, use Mrs. for a married female when you know her last name. Right? I mean, if you're not sure, again, if you're not sure if a woman is married and if she's changed her name or not, I know myself, I'm married, but I never changed my name. So if people are referring to me, then I would want them to call me Ms. Cole. All right. Next example, talking about how you would use colons when making lists. Let me read through these examples. Example A. If you would like to train in swimming, then you need to know... Sorry, let me start again. If you would like to train in swimming, then you will need the following equipment: a swimsuit, goggles, a cap, a board, fins, a pull buoy paddles, a band, and a snorkel. So you can see that I've introduced this list of things. And when I say introduced, one of the common words that you'll see if people introduce lists is this word following, or the following. So notice these words here. If you would like to train in swimming, then you will need the following equipment. If I were to take out the words the following and the words then you will need the following equipment, then I could just write it out without a colon. I could say, if you would like to train in swimming, then please bring a swimsuit, goggles, a cap, a board, right? Then I wouldn't need a colon, but because I've got these words here, then you will need the following things. Because I'm saying that, I need to have a colon there. Next example. Here is how to play a game called Freeze Dance. Okay, so you notice how the title of the name is inside of quotation marks. And I could have written that in italics if I wanted to, but I used quotation marks instead. Here is how to play a game called Freeze Dance, colon, right? Notice how there's a colon there? I've introduced my instructions that way, right? Number 1, choose one person to play the music. 2, when the music starts, everyone dances. 3, when the music stops, everyone freezes in their position. 4, anyone caught moving is out. 5, continue playing until there is only one person left. So you notice that there's 2 ways to write a list, really. You can write it out just all on one line or a couple of lines, like with example A. Or you can list each part of the list out like I've done here with example B. When would this be useful? Well, the best example I can think of is if you're sharing your instructions. Maybe it's a memo or maybe a letter. This isn't a formal sentence, but I think you get the idea, right? If you were sending a letter to someone that you worked with and you were trying to explain something to them and you were trying to give them the steps to follow, then it would be easier to read it like this. Example C. There are 3 ways to figure out the answer. Find it on the internet, read it in your book, or ask the teacher for help. Example D. He always brings a certain number of items when he travels. See that colon there after travels? An extra set of clothes, several healthy snacks, a pillow, and his iPad. Next way of using colons is when offering explanations. Let me just read through the first examples to start off with. Number 1, when it snows like this, there is only one thing to do. Stay home and relax. Let me read out the second one, and then maybe I'll try to say what I can hopefully explain to you. My teacher was right. The test wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. Okay, so when I'm talking about an explanation, it's sort of like imagining a situation, and maybe you're thinking about it, maybe something's happening, maybe something has already happened, and you're trying to explain maybe your feelings or your plans or what is going on, right? With number 1, right, the situation is that maybe there was a big snowfall, and you use this colon to tell people what they should do because of it, right? In number 2, maybe you were nervous to write a test, right? And then you think back, so then you write the test and everything's okay, and then you think, oh, I need to let people know that my teacher was right, and here is why, right? The test wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. All right, so in this case here, right, when it snows like this, there's only one thing to do, and I'll tell you what it is, right? Stay home and relax. My teacher was right, and here is why. The test wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. So you can see that a colon sort of allows you to say what you're trying to say and use less words to say it. It's another way of explaining it. Okay, example 3. The family pets don't get along. The dog is always eating the cat food, so the cat chases the dog and scratches its face. So if we look at where our colon is, right, the family pets don't get along, I could get rid of that and I could start a new sentence. And I could say something like, this is because, right? So I'm explaining why they don't get along. But I can put everything into one sentence when I have this colon there. Number 4. Mary is probably waiting inside. It has been raining all day. Right, so see where this colon is? All right, Mary has probably been waiting inside, colon, or in other words, the reason why she's been inside is because it has been raining all day, right? So Mary is probably waiting inside. It has been raining all day. Last one. 2 weeks of holidays, time with friends and family. This will be a nice break. Let me say it again and I'll tell you where the colon is. 2 weeks of holidays, time with friends and family, colon. This will be a nice break. Okay. I thought that this was a neat little example. All right, so you're kind of doing the opposite there, right? You're saying a couple of things and then you're explaining why you just said them.